Good morning, friends, and welcome to today's live chat. I'm your brother, Vincent. Uh, Today, we are going to be looking at the same issue we've been talking about the other time, paternity tests. But before we go into what we're talking about, let me apologize quickly for yesterday's poor audio outing from my end. When we hosted our special guest yesterday, my voice wasn't coming out very clearly, and that was because of some interference by my earbud that I placed on the desk here. But I want to believe now my voice people can hear my voice more clearly than it was yesterday. So today, without wasting much time, we're going to be bringing in our special guest today, in the person of Dr. Colin Oguzie, a medical practitioner based in the UK. Okay, I've invited Colin. While we're waiting for him, it's important for us to know that the topic today is paternity tests, COVID-19, and Nigerian politics. And Dr. Colin is going to weigh in on these important topics. We are doing this at the risk of sounding repetitive, especially on this particular topic, paternity test. But it's very important for us to talk about it too, because a lot of people have been worried. Most families have actually been encountering issues regarding that. So it's important for us to know what to do and how best to handle such situations, and especially what the law says. Okay, I have Colin joining me. Please stand by. Okay, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Vincent.
Okay, let's go straight to the chase. Could you please introduce yourself for our audience?
I am Dr. Colin Uju, and I'm a medical doctor by profession. I do a lot of work for public health. I'm also a private entrepreneur, and I am an ardent politics fanatics globally. So, and I understand a lot of issues, so ready to discuss them.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Let me go straight to the point. Do you support paternity tests?
I think it's a complex issue, and every to me is easy to say yes or no, but it's far more than that. Now,
I'm asking because first, you're a professional, you're a husband, and you're a father of some cute little children. You are in the best position to talk about this. Tell us why you support or why you don't support paternity test.
Let me start from why I don't support paternity test. Thank you, Vincent, for bringing up this very controversial issue, to be honest. Why I don't support it is that the foundation of union of a man and a woman, at the center of it is trust. And where trust goes, a woman gives birth to a child and the man says, it's not mine, I think it's another person's own. Therefore, trust has paved way. And where there is no trust, there is absolutely no love. So that is why I don't think it is primary. But nonetheless, it is essential. There are times when you may need it, and there are legal reasons for it. Some legal reasons might be for child support cases or benefits or inheritance rights, or where there are disputes about paternity, legal disputes, or where there is case of infidelity, or even in New York, like in the USA, where it is a law that you have to have paternity testing. So there are reasons why but what I have to say is that we need to exercise some caution, because there is a case I was looking into where the woman did not was in the hospital. So what they did was a paternity test, and the paternity test came out to say the man is not the father. This particular woman was so abused and victimized. But one thing they didn't do was a maternity test, which would have showed that the woman is not even the mother of the same child. So I
Really?
think, yes, so there are cases we need to be careful when we are doing these tests. These tests need to be done by experts. And the good thing is that the sensitivity and specificity, which means the reliability of these tests, are very high because they are DNA tests. So if it says you are the father, you are highly likely to be the father. And there are home test kits. There are those you have to go to the lab. So, but anyway, let me stop at this. And
Okay. Thank you very much. I raised this question because I got reports that some hospitals in Abuja and Lagos have been besieged by some husbands in Nigeria, in their search for paternity test results, to confirm whether they really are the father, the biological father of their children. And that's because, again, according to some unverified report making the rounds, that Nigeria ranks the highest in Africa, where you have cases of paternity fraud, and the second in the world. Now that's quite huge. Even though the Nigerian law, customary and statutory, by default grants fatherhood to the legal husband of the child's mother, but where paternity test comes out to prove otherwise, what do you think would happen in such a situation?
let me start from the statistics. There is something we call bogus statistics, and some of these things could be bogus, And
Okay.
number one is that I remember Durex Condom did a test, a kind of research in 2012. And in that research, they say that Nigerian women are the most unfaithful. When they were approached again to explain the details of the research, they didn't come back. But these are franchise, these are businesses, and they're there to make money. And the more they hype some of these things, the more money they are making. So even the paternity testing, these are businesses. We are talking about close to 7.7 billion industry by 2022. So we need to be very careful concerning men rushing to do tests to know whether they are the rightful parents of. Now, if you find out, you need to be ready for the result as well. One thing is the test. The next thing is the result. The result then tells you are not the father. What do? You chuck the child out, or you chuck the mother out, or you chuck yourself out. So we need to start getting far more matured when it comes to this thing. There's something we call fatherhood, and there's something we call being a father. We need to remove stigma really associated with adoption, and even looking after somebody you didn't even become you are not the real father of. So when we remove all these, then we can really, really leave paternity testing where there is real dispute. Okay. I have to also bring in this controversial issue as well. We have a patriarchal society where we are always blaming women, and blaming women. If there is no child, we blame women, when actually most of the infertility is from men. It's a sad thing to say, but it's the truth. But we keep blaming women. Now, some of these women are becoming desperate in a society where if you don't have a child, even where they have female children and no male, they are still victimized. Many of them are becoming desperate, and infidelity then follows it. Yeah, they're asking some of even colleagues to come and impregnate them because they know that you release sperm does not mean that there is spermatozoa in it. So that is we need to go to root and branch to find out what is causing it, rather than just rushing to test and then destroying your family with a result that you understand little or nothing about. So I am not in support of that rush. The industry is growing in Nigeria, DNA industry, and they are creating this fear so that we would go and patronize them, and they will make billions out of us. So I am not in support of that.
I like that angle, Doc. Thank you very much for injecting that angle, the business angle to it, because nobody has ever talked about this. Now, do you have any idea what it costs to have one DNA test conducted?
I think it's estimated, a while ago when I checked it, like 80,000 naira, probably 200 and something dollars test, yes. And this is the cost of the test itself, but bear in mind in Nigeria, a focus country, they will charge you for admin fee, charge you for card, charge you for all sorts of things, even charge you for walking in. So by the time you finish, and charge you for consultation, charge you for interpreting the result, charge you for everything. So you are talking about close to like 100 and something thousand. And in a place where teachers are paid maybe 30,000, 40, doctors are paid like 50, 60,000, that's a huge amount of money.
True, true. Now, are there chances of failure in that test? Are there chances of having errors in that DNA test?
Nothing is 100%, okay, apart from God. Okay, so, but the reliability of the test is very, very high, 99.99% or thereabout. So, but bear in mind that you could have error in the collection of the sample. Okay. So if you are not collecting the sample appropriately, you can get a false result. So that's why if you're doing it, it's important to get to the right experts and the right center to get it done. So when you get a home kit, there are different types of collection. There are people who do the test when the baby is still in the womb. So they collect it from the umbilical cord, or even when the baby is born, they collect from the umbilical, can collect from the blood of the woman, you know, because these DNA snippets from the child is also flying about in the mother's blood. You can also collect it from the baby. You can also collect it from your, you know, you have to also collect from your own cheek, the inside your mouth, or that of the mother, and so on and so forth. Any error in sample collection can affect the quality of the result. So we need to be mindful of that. That's why, because of the impact of the result, it's important to do second and probably a third test in maybe 2-3 different labs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. When you were talking about, when you were responding to a previous question there, you talked about maternity tests. Yes. What do you mean by that exactly?
Yeah, as you well know, paternity refers to father, maternity refers to mother. A maternity test is also a test to be sure that the mother of the child is actually the mother of the child, because a lot of fraudulent activities happening. Very important that we also test and be sure that the child in question even belongs to the woman. And once that is confirmed, then you can then do a test to show that it's you are the father of that particular child. But like I said, before taking this part, make sure you have looked at your child. Some children have a very, very strong resemblance to their father, and you are going to the lab for the lab to come and tell you, look, you are the father. You know, some resemblance are strong. So look at your child, and you will see that, you know, and also trust your wife, trust your partner, trust the person you're dealing with. You know, trust is becoming a real issue in this our time, but it's very, very important in any relationship. So that's the first thing, trust.
Fine. So you talking about maternity test actually gives credence to the fact that there could be chances of baby swapping in the hospitals. Now, in your many years of experience, have you ever encountered such a situation where a baby was swapped at the maternity ward of hospitals?
It's a criminal act, so it will be difficult for me to tell, but there are anecdotal evidence that shows that babies are swapped in hospitals. So especially in Nigeria, we also have had cases of some of these things, even in the West. So swapping of babies is not uncommon. But it's not that it's a practice of a legal practice of any hospital. These are illegal acts by people who come to visit the maternity units. And there and then they can swap based on gender. Many people are looking for males. So that's why some hospitals have changed practice. Immediately the baby comes out, they show you the baby you have given, show you the gender. Tags can be removed and changed. So it's a real issue in our maternity units, especially in Nigeria, where people are very desperate for male children.
Thank you very much, Doc. Let's go to the next segment of the conversation, COVID-19. Let me ask, have you taken the shots, the vaccine, the almighty vaccine?
No, I haven't, because it's not yet my turn.
But would you take it?
But I think they have called my wife, so she will be taking it first before me.
Oh, fine. That means you will take it.
I will surely take it. I believe in science, and I also believe in God. And I also believe that if God does not empower scientists, the scientists will not be able to produce this vaccine. People have had question around the rate at which it was produced.
Yeah.
Look, a time is relative, and we must understand that. Time is not a panacea. It's relative concept. And the thing they need to check is the steps, the rigorous steps the scientists followed to produce this wonderful vaccine. And then the regulatory authority, the regulatory bodies, what they did to check and be sure that the reports written in the documents which the researchers presented or the drug companies presented are exactly what it is. And as we are giving these vaccines, we are monitoring these vaccines for any side effect. Like here in the UK, where we discovered that those who have respiratory problems, like asthmatic problems, may be reacting negatively to the vaccine. And we have ordered that they should stop taking it. So MHRA here are monitoring the side effects, and it's rigorous. So anybody who is telling, I've heard all sorts of conspiracy theories that is chipping the world and is an end time. I have nothing against religion, but I think religion should try and be humble. Even God himself is a humble God. We need to accept humility. Religious people, the way they are trying to skew common sense is rather unfortunate. And I think we need to stop that. Because let me tell you, it's like when smallpox was ravaging the world, it was vaccine that stopped it. You know how many vaccine our children are taking? In America, they take so many shots. Here as well in the UK, and even in Nigeria.
Which is actually why they record minimum numbers of child natality, right?
Oh, yes. It has helped to reduce child mortality rate all over the world. We cannot joke with primary public health preventive measure called vaccination. That is what is keeping us all alive. You know, and infectious disease control is not just about giving medication, because to produce a medication that will target a particular virus, bacteria, protozoa, or microorganism is quite challenging. And therefore, prevention is better than cure. And that is why we are putting in a lot to.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, the numbers are rising in Nigeria. Number of COVID-19 casualties are rising, and we are losing great men. At the last count, we lost retired Rear Admiral Ndubisi Kano, a notable Nigerian and Igbo man. There are many more. The other billionaire that died the other day. So many people. And Ali Baba came out the other day filming, lambasting the naysayers, people who are saying that COVID-19 is a ruse, that it does not exist. He went as far as calling them idiots live on air. Now, what do you make of these developments, the rising numbers in Nigeria? Because the names we've been hearing are the people, the influential people who've got access to the news, the media. There are many more many more who may have died, and the media did not pick the news. So what do you make of these developments?
Thank you, Vincent, for that question. You know, I'm not I'm not a diplomat. I say things the way it is, and that has actually put me in a lot of trouble, and I have to say the way it is. And hopefully, if it's Dino Malaye, he says, we say the truth, we die. We don't say the truth, we die. We live in the middle, we die. So let's say the truth and also die. So,
Please go right ahead.
Vincent, you know, the case of Nigeria is a unique case. It's a unique case. I recently visited Nigeria and I was privileged to see the rot happening. Okay? I call a spade, not because of just myself, but because of people I care for, because of those who are dear to me. And Nigeria is dear to me because that is my fatherland. Okay? What Nigerians want is openness and transparency. What Nigerians deserve is clarity and direction. What Nigerians need is tailored advice, tailored to the Nigerian population. Okay, now tell me, in my entire local government, there is no single coronavirus test. How can you be giving me numbers when you haven't actually tested many people? That is bogus statistics. I visited a couple of hospitals and I saw people with respiratory symptoms, and not even one was tested of coronavirus. I'm talking about even people with respiratory symptoms in the hospital. I'm not saying coronavirus is not in Nigeria. Coronavirus is a pandemic. It is everywhere. But what Nigerian government should be empowering researchers in Nigeria is to see how we can understand the behavior and virulence of the virus in Nigeria.
Hold on a moment. Are you saying the numbers published daily by the NCDC is not realistic?
It is inadequate. It is inadequate. It is inadequate in many ways. Number one is you cannot have the number of people who are positive when you are not testing enough. That is number one. This is not a disease whereby we diagnose you of having COVID by looking at your symptoms. There are many other diseases that are similar to coronavirus. Common cold is even one of them. So it is this, the denominator comes from number you have tested, who you have shown to be positive. They are not testing enough. They are not testing. Okay? There was a time I suggested that everybody that is brought to the hospital in Nigeria needs to be tested, even if it's private hospital, but they are not doing it.
Because we don't have adequate test equipment. Yeah, that's probably because all the hospitals, the test equipment, I hear they are quite expensive, and not all the hospitals in Nigeria have access to it.
Why would you accept that kind of narrative? Nigeria is an oil-producing nation. I think there are things we must not accept. Okay, let me tell you. Okay, I researched on property industry in Abuja, the declining property industry in Nigeria. And one thing, it was going down, but suddenly it started increasing, number of people purchasing property. Do you know what the key researcher told me? Is that many of the people now buying these properties are people who hold COVID-19 contracts.
Really?
If we are going to save Nigeria, we must learn to say the truth. You and I, would you believe that there is a stack of palliatives at the peak of coronavirus packed in warehouses across the country, and those who are in hunger and dying in hunger didn't have access to these things? Can you believe that? So
But it happened.
yeah.
It happened right before our eyes.
Yeah, we saw it. If we didn't see it, they would have told us that there is nothing like that. So that's why I'm telling you, millions and billions are pumped into testing. They are buying and ramping testing all over the world, but they are not being distributed to Nigeria. It's all on paper. Nigeria has enough money to test those they want to test. We are not going to buy that narrative. And that narrative is a fraudulent narrative. So I'm sorry, Vincent, I'm not joining that.
Okay, you must have attended a few public events while in Nigeria, and you must have noticed their lax attitude towards COVID-19 precautionary measures. Do you foresee danger ahead?
Yes,
Considering that
Vincent.
such events are said to be super spreaders.
Yes, I foresee a real issue with the laxity of both enforcement as well as the willingness of the Nigerian population to accept public health advice. Now, another thing is, do I really blame them? And that's why, remember, I told you earlier about transparency of government. It's the duty of government to carry people along, to explain to people what they need to do. And I think that is missing. Even myself that was wearing face mask and face shield, I was looking odd. And you know, I am a human being. And as a human being, I have a social element. An old woman rushing to hug you and I start saying, no, 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 don't come near me, could be misinterpreted. So we need enlightenment. We need education. And there is no evidence that the education is trickling down to those in our villages, even in the urban areas. Now, would I advise a government to shut down a market? No, I wouldn't advise that. Look, in public health, there is what we call it's multifactorial reasons to all types of mortality or death. There are many reasons. If I shut down the market, people are going to die of poverty. People are going to die of hunger. So whatever I am doing, and that's what I'm asking the Nigerian government, at all levels, federal, state, and local government, is to tell her, whatever intervention you're doing to the Nigerian population, stop the cut and paste. Cut and paste is getting out of hand. So there was one, I was reading a document, they even cut the UK temperature and put in there. So cut and paste does not help. We have very good scientists. After all, if you go to the West, it's the same Nigerians trained in Nigeria that are doing wonders all over the world. So let us harness these people. Let us harness them there and give them the necessary tools, information, and support to do the research. Tell out to Nigeria, so that we can then support our people to come out of this pandemic in a safe way. That's what I suspect.
Oh, we seem to have lost. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Thank you for that candid submission. Some people have said actually that because Nigerians are used to treating malaria, that their body possibly resists COVID-19, which is why we don't have a large number of cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Is there any truth in that?
Does Nigeria have mortality data? That's where you need to start. Do they know who is dying and why they are dying? So Nigeria cannot say that not so many people are dying of coronavirus in Nigeria when you lack mortality data. I visited a hospital during the HIV era in Nigeria, somewhere in Amba, and the clinician there was telling the public health experts that he should just write 15 people have HIV. Let us tell ourselves the truth. Nigeria has no mortality data. Yes. So they can't tell us who is dying and who is not dying because they don't even know who is it. They don't even, what I know is that I was trying to start up a farm recently and many people were selling distressed land to me. And over 4 years, what I managed to get was like 40 plots. But from February to October, I managed to get like 150 plots. So there, and many of these people doing selling these distress are people who lost people. So there is excess mortality at the moment. What is explaining the excess mortality requires research. It's not just write this, write that, write that. No, that's not how it works. So Nigerian government, the Nigerian researchers should start looking in depth into why people are dying. There is assessment that people are dying. Okay.
But why do you think the health situation is that bad in Nigeria? Is it that we don't have qualified people back home or what?
There is a culture in Nigeria of people not wanting to do what is right. Every blame must not go to government. Even at the level of employees, people just for some reason derive joy in doing what is not right and what is not acceptable. So that is the problem. The decay cuts across all levels. It starts from the leadership right down to the followership. So until we have a proper reorientation, a proper change of attitude, a proper change of approach to doing things, then things will start changing. Nigeria is a fantastic place. All complex surgeries can be done there. My dad had a laparoscopic hemicolectomy successfully done in Lagoon Hospital. Okay, though the surgeon, it's cutting off half of your intestine, because a large intestine, because of cancer. So it was successful. Till date, it's fantastic that was done in Lagoon Hospital, VI. So we have the expertise. What Nigeria needs is that government support. The clinicians, everybody there needs support. And that support is not adequate. I'm not saying it's not there, but it is inadequate.
Okay, let me take you to another section. I've heard people say that give credence to herbs. They said there is a herbal remedy for COVID-19. Has that been proven? Is that true? A friend of ours here, I saw him advertising something like dogoyaro leaves, screaming that it works. Some others have also, another friend also has a special solution prepared, said to be effective against COVID-19. Are there alternatives beyond the Pfizers and the Modernas of the world?
In medicine, there is something we call placebo effect. And a placebo effect is that if you believe that whenever your wife hugs you, your fever goes, maybe if you go and hug your wife, your fever may go. Okay? That doesn't mean that hugging your wife is a treatment for fever. Are you getting me? Yeah. Now, I have nothing against herbal medicine. I'm a proponent of herbal medicine, and I believe that's the origin of medicine. But in this year 2021, this is time for empirical research. This is time for them to bring out whatever they are doing to the table of science, so that we look at who and who. What's the selection of those being treated? Are those being treated truly COVID patients? Are they proven to be COVID positive? Then after the treatment, does it turn to COVID negative? Now let me tell you, not everybody who has COVID positive result has symptoms. There are symptomatic people. So we need to be sure. Are you going to the acute hospitals looking for those in ventilators and giving them these medications? And bear in mind, it's a viral infection and it can be self-remitting. So it can recede on its own. So we need a thorough research to be sure that it is actually efficacious and that it's doing the job it is meant to do, and that it's not doing more harm than good. Now, if somebody who receives that herbal medication dies, is it reported? Is there any reporting mechanism in place? There is none. So I am a proponent of herbal medicine, but I believe that they should be courageous enough to bring whatever they are doing to the table of science so that these things can be properly researched. We all, whether the scientists or the herbalists, the intent is to treat people. I don't think anybody wants to go and be causing harm on anybody. No, I don't think there is any intention, but there are unintended consequences of not really going through empirical research of some of these things. So let them bring it out. Let's identify cohorts, randomized control trials of some of these, and then we publish the result in a journal, in a respected journal, global journal. And if it shows that dogoyaro, chloroquine, and all that isn't working, we can drop it and move on to the next. We can't dwell on one thing. Okay, I don't have any results where research here that is credible that shows that taking chloroquine solves the problem. No, I don't have. If there is, who would have reported it? So I don't have any empirical write-up written that shows dogoyaro does magic. So as such, it will be irresponsible of me and a person of my reputation to be standing here in public to say that, look, go and start taking dogoyaro. But like I said, each and every one of us is free to try anything they want to try. That is your liberty to do so. But it is not under my own advice. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And to our viewer, if you are just joining us, we have Dr. Colin Oguzie here with us on this show. Dr. Uju is a medical practitioner of many years standing, based in the UK and practicing in the public health sector. Dr. Colin, let me take you straight to the next segment of the interview, which is politics, Nigeria politics. Before now, you have talked about, you have actually lampooned Nigeria's health sector. You blamed the government and leadership. And that reminds me, in 2019, you were a staunch campaigner of President Buhari. Remember that all these things you talked about now happening in the health sector are right under the leadership of President Buhari. Now, you campaigned a lot for Buhari in 2019, and seeing that Nigeria, all sectors, is in the doldrums. How do you feel? What do you think? How do you feel about the government today?
Thank you, Vincent. That's a brilliant question. At a time when we were campaigning, supporting change, as you well know, politics is a game of options, and the options on the table, credible options. There were other contestants, but it can either be PDP or APC, unfortunately. And what I looked at was the credibility of the candidates, okay? And at the time, the opponent of Buhari, Atiku.
Yes, a politically astute and a more business inclined Atiku Abubakar.
Yes. At the time, I remember I've already read Obasanjo's book, published all over the world, and I have sat in many interviews employing people, and if I get that kind of reference for anybody, it will be practically impossible for me to recruit that person, especially when it comes into the position that requires kind of
integrity,
integrity. Yes, thank you for the word. Yeah, I was lost for word there. And integrity is at the center of leadership of a country. When I read that, I was shocked. So I started researching more about him, and that took me to when he was actually working for customs, Nigerian customs. And what I read there didn't really help my supporting him. I then opted for Buhari. Not that he's a saint. Politics is not about saints and sinners, okay? It's about the options on the table and taking the option that is in the best interest of the nation. So I supported Buhari at the time in the best interest of the nation. I know the center of what is killing Nigeria is kleptocracy, and I know corruption is at the center of it. So I was just looking for who is less corrupt. Okay.
Okay. Let me interrupt you here. You said you researched about Atiku, the other candidate, Atiku. I don't know if you also were exposed to some comments and write-ups about Buhari, especially by El-Rufai. There were statements credited to El-Rufai of Buhari being unable to do anything, being unable to take decisions, being unable to punish his loyal friends, no matter what you say, no matter what they are seen to have done. And you can see that that is actually what's happening today. And again, in 2015, yes, I, for one, I campaigned for Buhari. A lot of other people campaigned for Buhari over Jonathan Goodluck. But in 2019, between 2015 and 2019, we saw that Buhari, every bad thing said about Buhari was valid. The economy was the worst for it. Things weren't working. So people said, fine, between these two devils, we would rather go for Atiku. So I was surprised that between the two, Buhari had shown, of course, inability and every sign that he could not handle Nigeria. But Atiku is, no matter what they say about him in the past, no matter what Obasanjo may have written about him, you also saw that he made peace with Obasanjo, and Obasanjo corrected whatever he wrote about him. Atiku is a more business-inclined person, a more politically astute person, inclined to business. He runs successful business chains, and he's been doing well. And you know that running governance is as good as, running business. If you couldn't run any business successfully, you cannot lead a country, or you cannot even run any organization. So why did you leave? You read only about Atiku, you didn't read about Buhari, because I know there are dirty things still written about Buhari that he has come to prove today to be true.
I read a lot about Buhari as well, and like I said, he's not a saint, and there are many issues I have against Buhari. And on the issue of ineptitude, which you tend to see with Buhari, I think it's just his style of leadership. It can be annoying at times. For example, he has been a military general, and I know the testaments from my dad during when he was the head of state, and the war against indiscipline and all that, according to my dad, was the only time sanity was established back in Nigeria. That even down to the villages, people were even conscious of urinating by the side of the road. So,
but there were also lots of cases of human rights abuses in those days.
Oh yes, I'm aware of that. Yeah, but at the moment, you're not seeing. I'm not saying that he authorized all abuses that is happening now, but you know that it's not in any way similar to what you see in a military leadership. On whether I'm supporting Buhari at the moment, I know it is very, very, very challenging to clean up a mess. PDP over 16 years, 15 or 16 years, created, there was lack of established institutions to support any other government that wants to bring in change. So I believe that the first thing Buhari did in his first tenure was to put back institutions, to put back infrastructures, to put back the necessary bedrocks to allow governance to take place. However, he made so many mistakes. And some of these mistakes which Buhari made may seem unforgivable. I have never seen where somebody didn't reshuffle cabinet. I have never seen where your loyalists are not held accountable, I have never seen where there is no any heat on the economy just affects the common man, and you don't have that macro control of macroeconomics, so that it doesn't trickle down to microeconomics, scattering everything. So there are things he's not getting right, and he's not getting right because he's not surrounding himself with technocrats. He's surrounding himself a lot with politics, because the agenda of APC is to retain power rather than getting the people to live a better life, to experience change. So that is my problem with what APC is doing, okay? That does not mean that I'm supporting a PDP. PDP still has a long way to go. They still need to
But are
clean
you
up
a
their
member of
mess.
APC?
No, I'm not a member of APC at all. I'm a member of APGA.
APGA.
Yes, I'm a member of APGA. That's the only registration. I don't believe in cross-carpeting. I know many people have met me, Colin, move over to this or that. No, I ideologically join APGA. And I'm a member of APGA. I'm not a member of APC at all. So on Buhari, I'm not happy with him at the moment. I think Nigerians deserve more, and I think he can do it. But what he needs to do is to muster the courage. He needs to muster the courage and remove himself from what I may call, people call them cabals, but I think they are invisible cabals that control him as a person. And I know that he has these tactics of presenting himself to be a saint, whilst everybody around him is completely corrupt, including his family and friends. Some of them are multi-billionaires. You know, I know how to research right down to the marrow of somebody. So the information filtering into my table shows that he's not oblivious of some of these things happening. So Buhari needs to really, really wake up. Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are crying out. He promised them change. He had a manifesto that but he's really doing nothing about these things. And I think we will hold him accountable. Posterity will hold him for promising heaven and earth and not delivering. But that notwithstanding, I have to point out that I drove from Umuahia Tower to Enugu by road, and the road was fantastic. And I also
The best
drove.
it's ever been in many years of democracy, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I even drove. I don't know whether you know on Enugu Onitsha Road. There is this Umuahia axis since I was born.
Yeah.
I've always known that place as a place you have to stop and walk. You need to see the concrete. When, you know, poured. And there was a place I drove somewhere in Ohafia, an erosion site. And when I asked, they told me it was Buhari that built it. So there are many things that man is doing that are commendable, okay? Whilst we commend them, we still have to hold him accountable for many things he promised and has not yet delivered. So it's not all about criticism. I think it's also that if you praise a great man for what he has done, he's going to do another. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your objectivity, Dr. Colin. I like your balanced criticism of Buhari, irrespective of your party affiliation. Now, let's look at
and also, before you continue, I went past this. I didn't drive past the second Naira bridge. I passed the first bridge, and I looked over the river, and I saw the second. You know, this is the first time we are seeing this bridge real, not just on paper, not just on project plan, real. And I had to drive around. There's a way you have to that end. And you see men walking, you know, live. You see, even on the Anambra side, you see the road channel, newly created road network to feed into that bridge. It is commendable.
That's impressive. But many would argue, many like me would argue that actually these things are not supposed to be news. He was elected to do all these things and more. We have seen a lot of nepotism. We have seen his lax attitude towards security. We have seen the way he handles human rights, the way he clamped down on NSAS protesters, the way he clamped down on protesters. For instance, just recently they arrested Omoyele Sowore, publisher of Sahara Reporters, and just recently they granted him a bail too. So the way he's been doing all these things he's doing, yes, the previous leaders have not done it. They didn't do it in their time. And he doing it is not out of place. This is actually why he was elected and more. But let me bring you close to.
Sorry, let me respond to that. I think I agree with you in principle. Some of those things are appalling, and it's not something you are meant to see in a democratic era. But that notwithstanding, also, let me point to you that Obasanjo, with Atiku supporting him as the VP, also raided Odi, until today remains what we call the Odi massacre. So I am not justifying any of these things. I think that from 1999, we should have charted a new path, a path of civil liberty, a path of respecting rights of citizens. Part where the citizens hold governments to account. And we haven't passed that bridge. We're just stepping a foot into it. And I'm very, very shocked that we are moving at a very slow, snail pace. We should be moving faster than this. So these things you mentioned are things that I agree with you. And I am not oblivious of these facts. I agree that there are things that Buhari is not getting right. The clamping down of NSAS was disgraceful, was a national disgrace. And I believe that the military cannot just go there and be shooting without an order coming from above, okay? So whatever they tell me at the tribunal or whatever they are doing, I don't listen to that. Buhari should be held directly accountable for that mess. And that's it.
Thank you for that point, Dr. Colin. Now, let's look at 2023 coming. For you, Igbo presidency, restructuring, or Biafra, which one would you choose?
I strongly believe in one Nigeria.
One.
Okay, I believe in one Nigeria. I believe that restructuring is long overdue. I believe that we shouldn't be, at this time, be relying on a constitution written by a military regime. I believe that we should one nation. As a people who were brought together, probably not by our own design, probably by God's design, that we should be brought together and sit down with love in our hearts and look at a way to move forward. And I believe that our way to move forward is about true federalism, decentralization of the top, and devolved authority down the levels with credible way of doing election, with credible way of electing leaders, very, very credible way. This is what I need. There are fantastic people in Nigeria who can really lead. They are all there, so many of them, but they don't want to pick up election candidate paper and fill just for them to contest and then be shot or killed by opponent or whatever. That is nasty. So we need to change and come to the table. And I want us to remove money from politics. I want all these senators, House of Rep, not to hold any contract. I want their salaries to be divided by 10. I want a total reform. I want people who want to serve their nation to come and serve. What you are having there is a casino business. It's a casino. And like every casino, there is always a gun in the pocket. Get me? It's a huge business. Nigerian politics is a huge business. And it shouldn't be so. We need to change. We need to change. We need to sit down. I've read the Nigerian Constitution from the that thing needs changing. And that is where we need to start. I am not in support of splitting Nigeria into bits and pieces. I'm not in support of, because now nations are coming together to create bigger nations. And these bigger nations can have ability to enter bilateral agreements with other nations. As far as I'm concerned, the entire West Africa should be one nation. That is how it should be, so that we can stand and tell US, no, we are not supplying you granite oil, we're not supplying you cocoa unless you pay. Do you know the cost of Ovaltine I got here is the cost of a whole bag of cocoa seeds, So we cannot just be alive because these things are happening because we do not have the teeth. We are so cut into pieces. The Berlin discussion is what we are still relying on. People who sat in their own countries and just split us into bits and pieces we need to come together with love in our hearts and discuss.
Thank you. Well, it's obvious that Buhari does not want to hear anything about restructuring, even though he campaigned for that. He campaigned with that, and now he doesn't even want to talk about restructuring. In your thinking, you believe you don't mind who is at the center, who's at the helm of affairs, as long as Nigerians, the region, are able to control and determine their own fate, right?
Yes. I think before, I like having a balanced argument. Bear in mind that there was also a constitutional conference that took place under PDP under the leadership of Goodluck Jonathan, and he refused to sign the outcome and recommendation of that. So that, in effect, means that the party as or amendment to the constitution, because so we cannot just blame APC alone. Now the thing is that there is a lot of politics in Nigeria. Everything is politics. Even common sense is politics, and that's something we need to step away from. On whether Buhari campaigned for that, Nigeria, they promised heaven and earth. After all, I also gathered he promised that 1 naira will be equivalent to $1. And there will be electricity everywhere in Nigeria. So we know they promise all sorts of rubbish and they don't deliver. So I think that moving to 2023, we need to get power to the younger generation. I'm not particular about Igbo, Yoruba, or Hausa, but with the fact that since after the war, the civil war, Nigerian civil war or Biafran war, the Igbos have never climbed up to that position of president. And we were told that it was no victor, no vanquish. I think this is time to give Igbos a chance to show they are part of one Nigeria. I think this is the time. But my personality is that I don't believe in those kind of classification, ethnic classification. I believe let the best person preside over Nigeria, no matter where you come from. Because when we say Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, remember there are many other tribes in Nigeria. I'm not sure whether they might be reaching almost 300 and something tribes. So we're not talking about a marginalized, seriously marginalized group of people. So even thieves are a very, very big area, but sometimes nobody talks about them. So let us move away from tribalism. Let's move away from nepotism. Let's move away from all sorts of social classification of people and look at qualities of people, what people can bring to the table. If we don't do that, and I keep warning, time doesn't wait for anybody. Time is not waiting for anybody. Even the oil, Nigeria will still have oil underground when oil will become irrelevant. When having oil will become even a nuisance. You'll be paying nations to come and remove your oil. Are you getting me? So the earlier we diversify our economy, the earlier we move out from oil dependence, the earlier we start thinking outside the box, getting well-educated people to sit on a round table to discuss innovative ways of taking. Nigeria is a blessed nation. We do not suffer from natural disasters, like apart from flooding here and there. Our own natural disaster is poor governance.
Exactly.
Only that. need to deal with and resolve. So that's what I have to say for now.
Thank you very much. We are almost out of time, but let me just take you on one question before we round up. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, leader of independent people of Biafra, recently launched his a security network he called Eastern Security Network, and that's in the absence of a security network for the Eastern region, just like other people have, launched theirs. Amoteku in the southwest, Hisba in the north, and Kanu, while our governors did nothing, launched his. Now, do you support that move?
Thank you for the question. As you well know, I do not support illegality, and Nigeria is not a lawless nation, and there is nowhere where lawlessness has ever paid anybody. So I think it is right for Nnamdi Kanu to agitate. I think it is in his civic right to agitate, but it is not in his civic right to hold anybody ransom. It is not in his civic right to go about insulting other people. It's not in his civic right to be calling for violence. So we need to make sure that we draw that line. I know it's quite a thin line, but he needs to learn how to navigate that thin line. You need to listen to Radio Biafra and understand the kind of rhetorics and the kind of vile statements he makes. Even if he creates a Biafra, with that kind of approach, he's going to create a nation that will implode from within. So he needs to start by defining the borders of a Biafra. What are the borders of Biafra? So he needs to define, is it going to be a landlocked country? If it is going to be a landlocked country, he needs to be at peace with Nigeria because things have to go through that nation. So he himself needs to also be open and transparent. And I know that there are a lot of donation that goes to him. He needs to be accountable. And when he was at the helm of affairs and his power was everywhere in the southeast, what the pictures I was seeing was people bowing down to him, worshiping him. Is that Biafra? Is that what we dream for?
That's not the Biafra we all envisage or we all pray for, if anything like that. And that has actually led to the, several divisions in his IPOB. A lot of people have left him and founded their own movement campaigning against it. But that will be the most we can take on Biafra. Maybe it's another time we'll fix a special session and discuss Biafra extensively, because I know you really, you do hold very explosive opinions. But the last question here before we go, you've spoken very well, like, you're a medical doctor, but you're very vocal on political matters. Do you have plans to go into politics anytime in future?
Yeah, there is a possibility, a very high possibility, yeah. But at the moment, there are some impediments, I'm a dual citizen, as you will appreciate. And so I believe in grassroots politics. I don't believe we all need to be president. I believe that at every level, there's what we call distributed leadership. At every level you find yourself, you're a leader. And how well are you leading at that microcosm you find yourself? So that is my own ideology. So I mustn't be the president of Nigeria. I mustn't be the state governor. But even if I am given a contract to do, I'm given a little position to take on, how well do I deliver it? How do I show leadership? You are a leader if you deliver leadership the way it should, with the people at heart. That is leadership. We all must not be at the top. So that is my belief. And whether I'm going into politics at some point is highly likely, but for now, I need to build a nation. I need to build a people. I need to change the orientation. At the moment, it is money-driven politics, and I cannot play politics when it is money-driven because it loses the whole thing about democracy. If I have to buy you granite, pepper, onion, and salt for you to vote for me, then it is not politics. What I need is to go and convince IBB. He will give me millions, and I come to the state and share 100,000 to everybody. I become the state governor. That is wrong. Another thing also, I have to advise the followership of Nigeria. Please, please, please refrain from taking bribe and money from politicians. Refrain from it. Refrain. You are killing yourself. You are killing your next generation. It's generational injustice. We, the followers, must refrain from it. Enough is enough. We are not victims. We are accomplices to the crime of killing Nigeria. We the followers. And let us stop pointing leader. We are the ones that are voting these people in, and we should stop making noise and go back, reorientate ourselves, do self-reflection, and change. Nigeria is a blessed nation. Nigeria is a fantastic nation. When I went to Nigeria, I traveled everywhere. I felt at peace with people. People loved me. But immediately I arrived UK, I found out they have stolen the catalytic converter of my car. So when they tell you Nigeria is a shithole, please, you are not a shithole. Be proud of yourself. Be who you are and stand up. But before you can be that, be true to yourself. Many of the things you people do there is not right, and you need to start changing. The change starts from us. It starts from me too. Starts from you too, starts from everybody. Let us start changing. Let us be nice and kind with each other. And by so doing, we can create a country that we love. Thank you very much, Vincent.
Well, on that inspirational note, I want to thank you very much, Dr. Colin, for your explosive thoughts on the various issues that we raised here. Thank you very much for your time. I thank you. I thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Vincent.
I hope you'll be there when next we call you, maybe to discuss other more important issues.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Cheers. And you too. Bye-bye.
All right.